This mother is crying as gang members surround her. The MC returns home, and the moment he reaches the door he senses danger but pretends to stay calm. Suddenly, a red-haired thug attacks. The MC takes the hit on purpose, grabs his shoulder, and lands a devastating punch. Two more thugs rush in, but he dodges and strikes back, shattering bones with unforgettable force. Then the gang leader steps forward, holding a knife, threatening to kill the MC's father. Before we see what happens next, make sure to like the video and subscribe to Raizel Manhwa so I can bring you more epic stories. Let's jump right in. The room reeked of fear and burning flesh. On the cold floor sat two desperate parents, their voices trembling as they begged for mercy. The father's leg had been pressed with a heated iron, leaving his skin charred and blistered, while the mother clung to hope that seemed all but gone. Their words cracked through the silence, "Please, just give us one more month." But mercy wasn't something their tormentor understood. With the iron still glowing red in his hand, the man sneered down at them, his voice laced with cruelty. He mocked their suffering, claiming that if they had borrowed money they couldn't repay, they should sell their organs instead. According to him, that was the only way to be human. The parents lowered their heads in shame, but the torment didn't stop. Shouting with twisted rage, the man declared that they needed to feel pain too, so they would finally understand what it was like for people who were never repaid. His words were like venom, each one stabbing deeper into their hearts. The mother, trembling yet desperate, clutched her phone, trying to hide it as she typed frantically. She knew there was only one chance left, to warn her son not to return home. Her hands shook, but her hope carried her. Yet before she could send the message, the cruel man noticed. Snatching the phone from her grasp, he scrolled through it with quiet fury. He chuckled darkly, reading her half-finished message. "Don't come home under any circumstances." Then his lips twisted into a psychotic grin. Instead of stopping there, he raised the threat higher, announcing that perhaps, rather than torturing the parents, he should go after their son instead. At that moment, both parents broke down, pleading through tears. "No, not our son." Their voices cracked with despair, but their words only fueled his madness. "Shut him up completely." Barked at his men, pointing toward the father. Rope was quickly wound around his body, gagging his voice until he could barely groan. The bastard sneered, claiming they didn't want to scare the boy when he arrived. And then he smiled coldly, his eyes turning toward the door. "Looks like he's here." The mother's eyes widened in horror. Tears streamed down her face as one of the thugs pressed a hand tightly over her mouth, silencing her cry. The footsteps outside grew louder. The handle turned. The door creaked open. Kang Sun-woo stepped inside. He acted as though nothing was wrong, as if he hadn't noticed the tension in the room. The thugs braced themselves, hiding their weapons, waiting for the right moment. Then, without warning, a man lunged from behind the door, swinging a baseball bat with all his strength. The blow landed with a sickening crack. The sound made his mother weep uncontrollably, her tears falling like heavy rain. To her, it looked unbearable, but Sun-woo didn't crumble. He had taken the strike on purpose, enduring the pain with clenched teeth. His hand shot up, grabbing the attacker's shoulder in an iron grip. Then, with terrifying calmness, Sun-woo delivered a punch, not just a punch, but a devastating blow that shattered the man's face beyond recognition. Gasps filled the room. Even the seasoned thugs froze in shock. The leader staggered back in panic. What is this?" They hadn't realized it yet, but Sun-woo was nothing like his father. He was strong, frighteningly strong. The thugs charged all at once, desperation driving them, but Sun-woo was a storm. He dodged every swing, every stab, and countered with brutal precision. One punch shattered bones, another crushed ribs. When a thug tried to sneak behind him, Sun-woo's kick struck the man's calf so hard it bent unnaturally. Another thug rushed with a chair, smashing it over Sun-woo's back. The wood splintered, the legs snapping off, but Sun-woo stood firm, barely flinching. The attacker stared in disbelief. How could anyone take that hit and still be standing? Sun-woo almost seemed to respect his effort, sending him flying across the room with a single strike that landed right at the feet of the gang leader. The leader, trembling now, grabbed a knife, pointing it towards Sun-woo's parents. "Let's see if this father can still move after being beaten to death," he threatened, desperation bleeding into his voice. But he never got the chance. Sun-woo snatched up the very iron that had scarred his father and pressed it against the leader's face. The man howled in agony as the burning metal scorched his skin. Even the parents looked on in stunned silence, hardly recognizing their own son as he unleashed this terrifying strength. The leader stuck on the door, screaming for help. My neck, call 119. One by one, the remaining thugs fell, Sun-woo dismantling them with relentless fury until none were left standing. His rage didn't fade immediately. His breathing was heavy, his fists still trembling as he turned toward his parents. Slowly, he untied the ropes binding them. His words came out like a bitter curse. "If you didn't want me to fight, you shouldn't have been this poor." And then his body gave out. He collapsed to the ground, unconscious. His mother cried out his name, Sun-woo, Kang Sun-woo, shaking his shoulders desperately, unsure if he was alive. Soon, sirens wailed in the distance and an ambulance arrived, carrying away both Sun-woo and the battered gangsters. At the hospital, chaos erupted. Doctors rushed to treat the injured, most of them gang members, their bodies broken beyond repair. In the hallway, a man wearing glasses calmly observed the scene. Suspicion lingered in his eyes. He turned to a doctor and asked what had happened. The doctor hesitated, then explained. A debtor had been assaulted, his family tortured, and yet the one who took down more than 10 gangsters was a single high school student. The man in glasses could hardly believe it, his expression tightening in disbelief. Nearby, another figure entered the hospital, a blonde-haired subordinate reporting to his boss. He whispered with a twisted smile that the boy, Kang Sun-woo, was also admitted here half dead. The enraged boss ordered Sun-woo killed immediately, but the blonde man smirked, promising that with Black Bear involved, the boy's fate was already sealed. That name echoed ominously. Black Bear. Moments later, a curious man overheard the name and rushed to ask the nearest doctor which room Sun-woo was in. Room 202, she answered nervously. Without wasting a second, the man sprinted down the hall, muttering to himself that if Black Bear was in this area, then this fight might prove whether Sun-woo was a true candidate for something far greater. At last, he reached the door, peeking through the window. On the other side loomed a massive figure, a man 3 times Sun-woo's size, waiting like a beast in the shadows. This was Black Bear. He looked down on the boy, his voice dripping with disdain. He muttered about debts, about his own burdens, and then, narrowing his eyes, he admitted one thing: Sun-woo was interesting. Even after seeing the Black Bear, this boy didn't look afraid. And so, the stage was set. The boy who had already defied death once was about to face a monster unlike anything he had ever seen. The atmosphere inside room 202 had grown unbearably tense. Black Bear's lips curled into a dark grin. His voice rumbled like thunder as he growled, "Then I guess I'll have to teach you what real fear is." Before Sun-woo could react, the giant moved with startling speed. His massive hand swung across the room, slapping Sun-woo as if he were an insect. The sound cracked like a whip, echoing through the walls. Sun-woo's body staggered back, but instead of breaking, his eyes burned with defiance. The man in glasses raised his brows, amazed that the boy was still standing. Black Bear sneered, taunting him further. He mocked Sun-woo for daring to charge head-on without hesitation, warning him that such recklessness only led to death. But Sun-woo, dragging himself back up, clenched his fists and spat back with quiet fury. "You talk a lot for someone who doesn't have anything." The words cut deep. A vein pulsed visibly across Black Bear's temple. His face twisted in annoyance before breaking into uncontrollable laughter. The sound was maniacal, the kind of laugh that promised violence. "Yeah," he roared, "that's what makes killing so damn fun." The man in glasses stiffened. Was this really going to end with murder? He muttered under his breath, thinking he needed to step in. But before he could, Sun-woo surprised everyone. The boy dodged Black Bear's crushing swing with sudden speed and delivered a sharp kick to the giant's neck. The impact reverberated through the room. For a split second, silence followed. Even the watcher was stunned. "I've never seen anyone land a clean hit on Black Bear," he thought. There's no way the so-called physical king could fall to a high schooler. But Black Bear only staggered, his hellish eyes glowing brighter. He roared with rage, spitting through clenched teeth. "Did you really think I'd fall to a mere kid?" Sun-woo didn't stop. Another blow connected, this one carrying real weight. The giant actually winced, blood trickling from his lip. The man in glasses was in disbelief. This didn't make sense. Black Bear, who was untouchable even in the underground world, was being pummeled by a teenager like a heavy bag in a gym. And then in the middle of that chaos, Black Bear smiled. A twisted grin spread across his battered face. His massive arms wrapped around Sun-woo, pulling him into a crushing grip. His booming voice shook the walls. "I'll use my ultimate move against you, the Bone Crusher." The man in glasses froze. He recognized that technique immediately. "No, that's Black Bear's signature move. If he uses that, the boy's bones will shatter. I have to stop this." But it was too late. With horrifying strength, Black Bear squeezed, ribs snapping under the pressure. The sound was sickening, yet Sun-woo didn't collapse. His body resisted. Black Bear's laughter suddenly faltered, confusion flashing across his face. "What, my senses, they're going numb. No, I used my full strength. Why isn't he breaking?" Sun-woo's eyes blazed with raw determination. He pushed back against the giant's grip, defying physics itself. With one swift motion, Sun-woo slammed his forehead into Black Bear's face. The crack echoed like stone striking stone. The giant stumbled. Did he reinforce his bones with metal or something? Black Bear thought in shock, barely able to stay upright. But Sun-woo didn't stop. Again, he crashed his head forward, smashing into the monster's skull. Black Bear reeled back like trash being tossed aside, each strike erasing more of his arrogance. "Stop!" the man in glasses shouted, panic lacing his voice. He's already unconscious, but Sun-woo was beyond reason. He pressed forward, his fury burning too brightly to extinguish. At last, the suspicious man rushed in, trying to calm the situation. He spoke firmly, warning that if things escalated further, cleaning up the aftermath would be troublesome. Then pulling out his phone, he made a chillingly calm call. "Room 202, Building B, head trauma from a car accident. Please handle it." Within minutes, masked individuals entered. They didn't look like doctors, more like clinical experimenters dressed in sterile gear. One of them examined Black Bear's limp body. "It's confirmed," he said coldly. "Shall we wrap this up?" The man in glasses nodded slightly. "Black Bear won't regain consciousness anytime soon. Take him." Sun-woo, battered and barely conscious, could only watch as they carried the unconscious giant away. His voice rasped with suspicion. "Who are you? Are you with these guys too?" The watcher finally revealed his intentions. He wasn't with the thugs. In fact, he was curious about Sun-woo's potential. Calmly, he offered a deal: fight under his command for the one he served, and in return he'd give Sun-woo everything he wanted. But Sun-woo scoffed. Despite his exhaustion, his glare was sharp. He took the red slip of paper handed to him, then tossed it straight into the trash. "I'm not interested in making money through fighting," he muttered coldly. As he turned his back, walking away with slow, heavy steps, he spat one final line. What kind of scam are you trying to pull this time? The man in glasses didn't stop him. He only smirked faintly, whispering to himself as Sun-woo disappeared down the hall. He'll change his mind sooner or later. The fight was over, but the game had only just begun. After the brutal showdown with Black Bear, Sun-woo found a moment of silence in the hospital bathroom. He splashed cold water on his face, staring at his own reflection. The boy who looked back at him didn't feel like a hero or even a fighter. He felt like a mess. Inside, his thoughts churned. Damn, even if my life is a disaster, all I wanted was to at least fulfill Mom's one wish to stay out of fights. And now, look at me. But before he could sink deeper into regret, a familiar voice cut through the quiet. His father. The man who once held the title of boxing champion appeared suddenly, his face lined with years of failure. What are you doing here? Where do you think you're going in that condition? He demanded. Sun-woo snapped back instantly, his frustration boiling over. That condition, and who do you think is responsible for it? His voice was sharp, trembling with barely contained anger. The words spilled like a flood. He reminded his father of his past glory, once a champion boxer, courted by professional gyms, a man with a bright future. But instead of protecting his family, he had done nothing, letting debts pile up until loan sharks came knocking. What's more important? Sun-woo asked bitterly. Your worthless pride as a champion or a sick, fragile wife who needs you? His father didn't argue. He simply replied in a cold, steady tone. Don't even think about leaving. Stay here in the hospital. Then without another word, he walked away. Sun-woo felt his vision blur. His head throbbed painfully. The floor tilted beneath him and he collapsed against the wall, clutching his skull. Ah, my head, what's wrong with me? Is it just exhaustion, or is it because every time I see that man, it feels like something inside me breaks apart? As he lay there, thoughts spiraled. His father, once proud, now broken. A man who brought home barely a week's worth of expenses. A man who bowed to the parents of bullies instead of defending his son. I hate him. I don't want to rely on him for anything. Because if I admit I have to rely on him, it means he thinks he's done enough as a father, and that's unbearable. His life felt like a pit, deeper and darker with every day. No money, no escape, chained to debt, chained to family, chained to bullies who made things worse. I can't leave Mom. I can't even dream of changing my life. Nothing but a high schooler sinking further into hell. The dizziness deepened and Sun-woo blacked out. When he opened his eyes again, something was wrong. He was no longer in the same hospital room. Confusion washed over him. What the wind did they move me? How long have I been lying here? Reaching for his phone, he noticed a new message. It was from his father. Sun-woo, I think it's finally time I tell you everything tonight. Sun-woo's heart sank. Everything? What else has he been hiding? And Mom? What about Mom? He quickly dialed, trying to reach anyone, and finally got through. But instead of comfort, panic poured through the line. Sun-woo, don't go home. Gangsters are waiting there. It's too dangerous. Stay where you are. I moved you under a different hospital name, so you're safe for now. His grip on the phone tightened. And Mom, the voice reassured him quickly. His mother was hiding near a police station, safe in a motel. But before he could ask more, the line cut short. Alone in the silence, Sun-woo trembled. Damn it, it's all because of me. If I hadn't provoked those guys, his guilt burned, pushing him to act. No, I have to find Mom, I have to. But before he could move, another call came. The number was unfamiliar. He answered, and a stranger's voice chilled his blood. You're Mr. Kang's son, right? Your father, he fell unconscious. You'd better come. Sun-woo rushed through sterile corridors until he found the emergency ward. Their doctors spoke grimly about his father's condition. The surgery is extremely difficult. The fees alone exceed 100 million won, and even if he survives, there will be years of costly treatment and rehabilitation. The words crushed him. His knees buckled as tears streamed down his face. He sat helplessly, whispering to himself, what am I supposed to do now? There's nothing left. Then as despair swallowed him, a memory flickered. The business card, the offer he had thrown away in disgust. An offer of money in exchange for fighting, his only chance. He scrambled to his feet, running back to the room where he had discarded it. The trash bin was empty, gone. His last hope vanished. Slamming his fist against the wall, he cursed at himself. Damn it, this is all my fault. I can't even protect my family. I can't do anything. His voice broke, tears falling uncontrollably. It would have been better if I had just died. And then, like a ghost in the night, the man in glasses appeared, calm, composed, holding out something red between his fingers. Are you looking for this? He asked smoothly. The offer you threw away, have you changed your mind? Sun-woo froze, his voice cracked. How much can you even offer? The man smiled faintly, his words sharp and tempting. At least 10 billion won if you win. Even if you don't, as long as you gain popularity, you'll earn more than enough. So, are you coming with us? The number hit Sun-woo like lightning. 10 billion, enough to save his father, to pay for treatment, to lift his family out of ruin. Enough to change everything. He stood there, torn between fear and desperation, as the world tilted once again. The choice was his, and with it, the path to something far darker than he ever imagined. Elsewhere in a dimly lit annex building away from the public's eyes, the conversation turned deadly serious. Papers lay on the table, a contract, and across from Sun-woo sat the man who had been pulling all the strings so far. Calmly, he slid the document forward. Take your time reading it, he said smoothly. Sign when you're ready. Sun-woo's eyes skimmed the first line and his stomach tight. Fighting ward, what the hell is this? The man finally introduced himself with a faint smile. Kim Min-seok, scout. And this, he tapped the paper, is your ticket into an underground tournament. A place where fighters enhanced with monstrous strength by doping drugs tear each other apart. Not for money alone, but for survival. Sun-woo pushed the contract back, shaking his head. I don't do that kind of thing. Kim Min-seok didn't flinch. Instead, he opened a metal case, rows of vials glimmering inside. These aren't simple drugs. Depending on the type, they can transform a frail old man on death's door into something terrifying. Doping isn't mandatory, but he smirked. No one has ever won without it. The thought alone made Seonwoo's skin crawl. Wait, who the hell are you really? Kim leaned back, folding his hands. I already told you, a scout. I represent a VIP who invests heavily in the fighting ward. My job is to find new talent, and you Kang Sun-woo are the most interesting prospect I've seen in years. Still, Sun-woo shook his head, trying to hold firm. I said no, forget it. But Kim kept talking, his words slipping through cracks in Sun-woo's resistance. He explained the mechanics. The top 20 fighters in the tournament earn the right to choose sponsors. With a powerful backer, a fighter could reach the finals and claim a prize of at least 10 billion won. Sun-woo's fists clenched. Forget sponsors, I don't care about all this. Just give me the money up front, that's all I need. Kim clicked his tongue. Oh, that's not how this works. Payment only comes through fighting. Sun-woo's voice cracked with anger. Are you kidding me? Then why should I even deal with you? Kim's smile widened. Because you don't have a choice. You need money for your father's surgery, don't you? For your mother's safety, for the debt collectors breathing down your neck. Sun-woo froze. His blood ran cold. How do you know that? Kim leaned forward. Because while you sit here doubting me, your mother is already safe in a new home. Protected, your father's medical bills paid, the debt collectors pushed away. Do you think any of that happened by coincidence? Sun-woo's phone buzzed in his pocket. He answered quickly, his mother's voice came through. Sun-woo, I heard you already paid for your father's hospital fees and you sent over bodyguards too. Sun-woo's throat tightened. His eyes darted toward Kim Min-seok, who smiled like a predator watching his prey struggle. Ah yeah, mom, those people I sent them. Just do as they say for now. I'll be with you soon. His mother's voice cracked with relief before the line went silent. Sun-woo turned, fury and confusion mixing in his eyes. What's at stake for the prize to be 10 billion won? Why so much? Kim chuckled softly. 10 billion is just the base prize. Depending on how much people bet on you, the winnings climb. One fighter walked away with 15 billion once. Sun-woo muttered under his breath. That's insane. Insane, Kim tilted his head. Compared to the billions wagered, it's pocket change, but understand this, most don't live to spend a single coin. Only 10% of contestants last a tournament without ending up dead or disabled. Sun-woo's eyes widened in disbelief. How the hell do so many people die in secret? Why doesn't anyone talk? Kim's grin sharpened. Because death itself keeps the secret. That's the beauty of the fighting ward. Once you sign this contract, the first thing we do is create a death alibi. Sun-woo's voice cracked. A death alibi, Kim explained with chilling calmness. The hospital is the perfect front. You'll appear on camera in certain locations, make purchases in your own name, enough evidence to prove you died from illness, an accident, or a side effect of drugs. After that, there's no death we can't fabricate. A disappearance. A fall. Even an overdose. Once your alibi is in place, you're legally dead, and a dead man can't report us. The air in the annex grew heavier. Sun-woo's fist shook. And if I report this now? Kim's eyes glimmered. Then you'll vanish before the report is even filed. To the world, you'll be nothing but a deranged addict who overdosed. That's why I tell you all this so freely. Because you already belonged to us the moment you sat down here. The room spun. The walls felt like they were closing in. Kim leaned forward once again, voice soft but deadly. This is your choice, Kang Sun-woo. Most people take days to decide, but you already know the answer. Sign the paper or watch your family crumble. Sun-woo's jaw tightened, eyes burning with rage and desperation. Finally, he slammed his hand against the contract. Fine, but just keep your damn promise. Kim's lips curled into a lunatic smile. Excellent. The door opened. Nurse in white walked in carrying a syringe. Before Sun-woo could react, the needle pierced his skin. He tried to resist, but his strength drained quickly. The world blurred as the sedative took hold. Through hazy vision, he saw Kim's face leaning closer. Don't worry, it's just anesthesia. We'll move you to the arena safely. Remember, Kang Sun-woo, your parents' survival depends on you now. Win and every problem disappears. Lose, he smirked. And you disappear instead. Sun-woo's eyelids grew heavy. His last thought was a silent scream. Am I dead already? When he finally blinked awake, his body felt weightless. He couldn't lift his arms, his legs refused to respond. Two men in white cloth and crimson masks dragged him down a narrow corridor. His voice cracked weakly. Where am I? One of the masked men turned slightly, his voice low and cold. Stay quiet and keep moving. You'll find out soon enough. The words echoed in Sun-woo's ears, colder than steel. The masked man paused, tightening his grip on Sun-woo's arm. This place is hell. And with that, the descent truly began. The scene shifts to the HS Twin Towers, a building drenched in wealth and hidden schemes. Inside, two men talk behind closed doors. One of them we already know, Kim Min-seok, the sly scout, and across from him sits Cha Yeon-woo, the vice chief of the Hasan group. Cha leaned forward, his voice sharp with doubt. It almost sounded ridiculous to him. Do you really think it makes sense to use a high schooler as our representative fighter, even if he did take down Black Bear? But Min-seok only smirked, the kind of smirk that suggested he was 3 moves ahead in a game no one else could see. He explained that the more absurd it looked, the better. If they wanted to bait the vice president, the one obsessed with the fighting ward, into gambling big, then they needed to make him underestimate their fighter. Cha's eyes narrowed. Could one student really bring down Hyungnam? Min-seok's answer sent a shiver through the room. He revealed what they had discovered after Black Bear unleashed his infamous bone crusher technique. Kang Sun-woo's body had endured the unendurable. His condition was beyond belief. Even Cha, a man used to dangerous fighters, looked rattled. Meanwhile, somewhere else in this hidden system, Sun-woo himself was barely conscious. His eyes fluttered open and the first thing he saw was someone lunging at him. He jolted awake, only to realize it was nothing but a cruel joke. Guards restrained him while the trickster laughed it off. Before Sun-woo could catch his breath, a drone buzzed in front of his face. Its mechanical voice was cold and unfeeling. Player wake-up check complete. Blinking in confusion, Sun-woo glanced down at the strange uniform forced onto his body. He muttered under his breath, "Where am I and what is this uniform?" The drone's reply was louder this time, echoing across the chamber like a judge's verdict. The first random match was about to begin. This test, it announced, would determine which of the 200 fighters would earn the right to proceed into the main arena. But there was a catch. It was the doping test round. Each fighter would be injected with a random substance designed to enhance a specific physical ability: strength, speed, stamina, reflexes. This was no ordinary tournament. This was a twisted experiment dressed up as entertainment for the VIPs who were already watching and placing their bets. Across the room, a fighter with dyed yellow hair grinned like a madman. He didn't hesitate. He took the doping agent offered to him and swallowed it like candy. Sun-woo, on the other hand, froze. His thoughts were heavy. He had already broken 2 promises, his promise not to fight and his promise to at least finish high school. But there was one line he swore he would never cross. Drugs. He couldn't, not after everything. But his attention was ripped away by a sudden scream. It echoed through the chamber, raw and terrifying. The yellow-haired fighter's body convulsed, then swelled with unnatural muscle. His veins bulged. His eyes burned with madness. "What the hell is that?" Sun-woo whispered. The monster lunged. Sun-woo dodged, barely slipping away as his attacker slammed into the ground with bone-shaking force. The yellow-haired fighter was no longer human, his body was transformed. His strength multiplied. And the drone announced it proudly like a commentator hyping a spectacle. Fighter Han Kayol has successfully enhanced his power, achieving the power doping jackpot. Kayol laughed manically, stepping toward Sun-woo. "Now, how should I kill this little brat to make it fun?" Sun-woo clenched his jaw. His opponent's raw strength was overwhelming, but there was something the drug hadn't touched: reaction speed. Sun-woo's mind calculated in an instant. If he could close the distance carefully and exploit an opening, maybe, just maybe, he had a chance. But Kayol wasn't about to give him that chance. The monster rushed forward faster than before, and his fist collided with Sun-woo's body like a sledgehammer. The pain was immediate, the force nearly knocking him out cold. Sun-woo groaned. Even his endurance couldn't keep up with this beast. Somehow he had to aim for the face, the one vulnerable spot. Another punch came crashing down. Sun-woo ducked by instinct, but Kayol didn't even flinch at missing. He simply laughed, enjoying the chaos. Then, in a sudden twist of brutality, the monster grabbed Sun-woo by the ankle. With a sick grin, he slammed him face first into the floor. Blood splattered. The crowd of VIPs watching the broadcast roared in excitement. Kayol's face twisted into something grotesque. He raised his head to the ceiling, screaming with ecstasy. "Crushing you feels amazing. Shall we see just how far a person can be broken?" Then he crouched low like a frog preparing to leap, his eyes wild. "All of you bastards who ever looked down on me, come out and watch, because now I'm the king." And there, lying bloodied on the ground, Sun-woo could only think back to his past. To the countless times he'd been crushed by life, by bullies, by debts, by the sight of his father bowing in shame to parents who didn't deserve it. All that pain swirled together now, pressing on his chest. The fight was no longer just physical. This was every humiliation he had ever swallowed, staring him dead in the face in the form of a monster doped up on borrowed power. The fight reached its most brutal moment. With a crazed grin, the yellow-haired bastard leapt high into the air and came crashing down on Sun-woo's chest. The impact was so heavy that the floor itself cracked beneath them. The monster's voice rang out, twisted with delight. "The best part of crushing someone is always the ribs." For a moment it looked like the end, but Sun-woo's eyes snapped open. Consciousness surged back into him at the very brink of collapse. His attacker froze in disbelief. How was this kid still alive after that bone-shattering hit? Sun-woo answered the only way he could, with his foot. He kicked the bastard away, forcing him back. The monster snarled and lunged to grab his leg, but Sun-woo dodged, staying just out of reach. Panic flashed across the brute's face. His thoughts raced. How is he fine without doping? No, it must be that his body hasn't fully adjusted to the punishment yet. Meanwhile, Sun-woo steadied his breathing. His body screamed in pain, but his mind was sharp. He slowed down. That doping didn't enhance his stamina. If I just avoid getting grabbed, I can chip away at him. Quick punches to the face, not brute strength. He shifted into a stance, eyes locked on his enemy. The bastard smirked, still confident that brute force would carry him. He swung wildly. Sun-woo ducked, then countered with a clean strike across the face. Another blow followed, harder this time, smashing into the monster's jaw. The crowd watching from the shadows of the tournament erupted. This wasn't the performance they expected from a scrawny high schooler, and yet Sun-woo didn't stop. He kept landing hit after hit, each one sharper, each one breaking through the illusion that this yellow-haired brute was untouchable. Soon the doped-up fighter was staggering, barely holding himself upright. Then his body gave way and he collapsed unconscious, or so it seemed. Sun-woo's eyes narrowed. Good, now I can finish this with one big hit. He raised his arm, preparing the decisive strike, when suddenly his wrists were clamped down. The bastard's eyes snapped open, filled with malice. He had been faking it all along. With a grin, the brute growled, "Now it's my turn." But Sun-woo didn't flinch. He spat back with iron resolve. "I didn't let you grab me on accident. Do you know why kangaroos hold their opponent's arms before they strike?" What followed was a blur, so brutal the footage had to be censored. All anyone could see was the aftermath. The yellow-haired fighter's face reduced to a swollen, bloodied mess. He tried to move, but his body betrayed him. Panic shot through his mind. What's happening? Why can't I lift myself? Damn it, why is my body failing me against someone who hasn't even doped? But then his eyes darted to the vial that had been meant for Sun-woo. His grin returned. That's right, one dose wasn't enough to contain me. Before Sun-woo could stop him, the brute seized the injection and plunged it into his own arm. His body convulsed violently, veins glowing as the drug coursed through him. The drone's metallic voice cut through the chaos. Stamina doping applied successfully. And then it began again, fueled by newfound power. The yellow-haired monster exploded forward. His fist slammed into Sun-woo, the blow so heavy it nearly folded him in half. Sun-woo's body was hurled upward, only to be seized midair. The brute's voice dripped with fury. Who are you calling a scrawny punk? With monstrous strength, he hurled Sun-woo to the ground like a ragdoll. Dust erupted, the impact echoing across the chamber. To the untrained eye, it looked like Sun-woo was done, but those who had seen him before knew he might just be biding his time. After all, this was the same kid who once took down 10 gangsters in a single brawl. The same kid who survived Black Bear. Compared to them, this monster was nothing more than an insect. But the present was grim. Sun-woo lay sprawled across the cracked floor, bloodied and gasping. His opponent towered over him, breathing heavily, eyes glowing with sick satisfaction. He reached down, wrapping his hands tightly around Sun-woo's throat, choking the life out of him. His voice trembled with deranged excitement. There's something I've always wanted to do after being on the receiving end. His grip tight. Yeah, this is the feeling. For pests like you, the only way it feels right is to cut off your breath completely. The fight was over before Sun-woo could even process it. The yellow-haired brute, drunk on his own power, had forced not one, but 2 doping agents into his veins. His body couldn't take it. The veins bulged, his muscles twisted out of shape, and then he collapsed. Lifeless, the drone's mechanical voice cut through the silence. Game over due to player death. From a distant chamber, the match was being watched live. Vice Chief Cha Yeon-woo's brows furrowed as the feed ended. Death. What happened? Kim Min-seok, arms crossed, didn't look surprised. His voice was calm, almost smug. Overdose. The survival rate for attempting 2 different dopings at once is less than 0.5%. He was doomed the second he got greedy. The Vice Chief exhaled sharply, half in disbelief. Well, I'll admit you're lucky your opponent chose to die on his own. But Min-seok wasn't smiling out of luck. His eyes glimmered with a strange fascination. Maybe, but I wouldn't call it luck. Kang Sun-woo's body, it's unusually strange. The Vice Chief tilted his head. Strange, isn't it just that his bones don't break easily? Min-seok's grin widened. Muscles, organs, hormones, doping can enhance all of them, but there's one thing it can't touch: bones, yet his don't shatter, not even under impact that should have crushed them. There's something special about this kid, something hidden. The Vice Chief's expression hardened. Then we'll see how special he really is in the main rounds. What's next? Min-seok clasped his hands behind his back. First treatment, then the lobby where he'll meet the surviving monsters who've already awakened all sorts of powers. That's where the real fight begins. The scene shifted to a sterile white treatment room. Machines hummed. A masked doctor moved around Sun-woo's battered body, sealing wounds, patching fractures, forcing his body back into working condition. Sun-woo lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. His thoughts were a whirlwind. He really died. No. I didn't want to kill him, I just wanted to knock him down. I was the one who almost died out there, but I can't stop now. I'm the only one who can save Mom and Dad. The cold voice of a drone interrupted his spiral. All players who passed the round, proceed to the lobby. A doctor in a crimson mask leaned over briefly, voice flat. From now on, the drones will serve as your guides. Follow their instructions carefully. All guides are equipped with lethal weaponry. Don't test them. Sun-woo pushed himself to his feet, wincing. His uniform clung to him like a curse, the reminder of who he was before all this began. As he stepped out of the room, his mind churned. Damn it, I wish I could at least call Mom, check if she's okay, but they promised. They said as long as I fight, as long as I stay here, my parents will be protected. That's my only leverage. I have to survive. No matter what, this is nothing like the fights I imagined. Outside, they called me a monster, but here, even street punks turn into demons. And this is just the start. How much worse are the monsters waiting in the next round? The door creaked open. Light poured in, blinding, washing the path ahead in a sterile glow. But when Sun-woo stepped through, he realized it wasn't light at all. It was the beams from dozens of drones scanning the room. The announcer's voice echoed like thunder. We will now continue with 124 participants. Gather in front of the monitor for briefing. Sun-woo's eyes adjusted, and what he saw froze him in place. The lobby wasn't filled with people. It was filled with beasts in human form. Hulking figures, veins like ropes across their bodies, eyes filled with madness. Fighters who had already survived the same bloodbath as him, and were now stronger, faster, sharper because of the drugs burning through their veins. They're on a completely different level than the first round. If I draw attention to myself, I'll be torn apart before the real fight even begins. I have to keep my head down, stay under the radar, survive. But survival wasn't going to come easy. From behind, a voice jeered. A man with wild eyes and a grin too wide. Hey, high school kid, how the hell did you make it here? Want big bro to play with you for a bit? Whispers broke out a few meters away. 2 men leaned against the wall, smirking. That's the kid, isn't it? The one whose opponent overdosed on his own doping in the first round. Wait, so he hasn't even doped yet. Those rich bastards probably dressed him in his school uniform just to put on a pathetic show. I'm bored, maybe I'll have some fun with him. Before they could move, another fighter stepped forward, his presence so heavy it was suffocating. Built like a mountain, his body rippled with grotesque strength. His shadow swallowed Sun-woo whole, his voice was a growl. When someone asks if you want to play, you answer. If you don't, I'll just kill you. Sun-woo raised his head, eyes sharp, jaw set. His heart was pounding, but his spirit burned hotter than ever. To survive among maniacs like this, I'll have to become even crazier. But before the situation could explode, someone stepped forward. A slim figure, younger than most here but with the fearless eyes of a warrior. The so-called little hero. His voice cut through the noise, sharp and unshaking, demanding the giant let go. The African brute only sneered. His grin widened as he flexed his doped arm, muscle fibers twitching unnaturally. "You're really going to take on me with just one arm enhanced over some worthless kid?" Sun-woo gritted his teeth. "Damn it, how am I supposed to stay still now?" The brute roared, about to crush his victim's bones when bang, a searing hole tore through his skull. His body dropped instantly, twitching lifeless. The drone hovered overhead, its voice mechanical, merciless. "The briefing is about to begin. Any participant who inflicts harm outside of the designated schedule will be executed immediately." Sun-woo froze, his stomach twisted. Executed just like that, without warning? They kill people this easily. Can anyone really survive here? The room went silent as the giant monitor above flickered to life. A shadowy figure appeared, faceless, cloaked in darkness. Only two red eyes glowed from the void. The announcer's voice boomed, smooth yet venomous. "Congratulations to those who survived. From this moment on, losing a single round means elimination. And by elimination, we mean permanent incapacitation. But the reason you're here, the reason you've risked your lives, is for the grand prize." The number hit the screen like a gunshot. 10 billion. 10 billion won. The room erupted. Cheers, roars, desperate laughter. For some it was salvation. For others greed, but Sun-woo didn't shout. His eyes darkened, his fists clenched. 10 billion won. With that money, my family could finally live like human beings again. The announcer continued, each word heavier than the last. "Unfortunately, only one can claim the prize. But do not despair. Those who reach the top 16 and survive will receive 5% of the total betting money placed on them by the VIPs. A ripple of excitement spread across the fighters. One man shouted with crazed ambition, "Then I'll sweep up both the prize and the betting money. Each of you," the announcer went on, "will be assigned your own broadcast channel. One drone, one guide, one camera. Your life, your battles, your struggles will be streamed for the VIPs. The more attention you draw, the more money you earn. Win their eyes, win their bets, or vanish into obscurity." And with a final command, the voice sealed their fate. "Now choose your 5-person room. Your survival begins the moment you form your first alliance." The lobby instantly fractured. Fighters whispered, schemed, and stalked one another with predatory eyes. The strongest clustered together while the weak scrambled for scraps. Sun-woo exhaled sharply. "Damn, even finding a room won't be easy. If I stay alone, I'll be devoured. If I choose wrong, I'll be betrayed. Every option is dangerous." The little hero from earlier appeared at his side, clutching his injured arm but still smiling. "Don't worry, student. I'll make sure nothing happens to you until the official matches begin." Sun-woo's eyes flickered to the wound. "He got hurt because of me and now he still wants to protect me. Is he a fool or someone I can trust?" Before he could answer, another voice interrupted. Calm, steady, much older, an old man with long blonde hair, a strange air of experience about him. He glanced at the two and nodded. "There's a room over there that's still empty. No competition. Let's take it before someone else does." Sun-woo hesitated. "He's injured, and this old man, no one else even wants to approach him. Why would I walk into a room everyone else avoids? No matter which path I choose, danger will follow." The old man stopped, turning back. "Well, why are you just standing there?" Sun-woo clenched his jaw, then followed. Whispers rose as the trio passed. "Wow, what a pathetic group. Lowest viewership guaranteed. No way those nobodies make it past the next round." But somewhere else, in a room sealed away from the rest, something far more terrifying was unfolding. The so-called leader of one faction sat casually, boasting about his power. His crew surrounded him, laughing, but the door slammed shut. A figure with long blonde hair stepped forward. His aura was different, not loud, not boastful, but sharp. His gaze cut through the room like a blade. The leader frowned, closing the door before the cameras even roll. "Are you asking to be killed?" The blonde didn't answer. He simply raised two fingers and drove them like knives beneath the leader's jaw. The man convulsed once, then collapsed dead. His crew froze in horror. The blonde man stood over the body, wiping his hand clean as if nothing had happened. His voice was cold, calculated. "Anyone else want to greet me?" No one moved, heads lowered. Fear swallowed the room. The blonde smirked. "Good, it's better to stay quiet. The person I really came here to greet isn't any of you." The scene shifted from the chaos of the lobby to the silent hum of a Rolls-Royce gliding through the night. Inside, Min Seok calmly reported to the vice chief, his tone as cold as the leather seats. The first vice president had already made his move, forming an alliance with Choi Machan, a previous tournament champion. The vice chief's face darkened, jaw clenched. His prized card had been snatched away, and all he was left with was a high schooler. But Min Seok didn't flinch. If Kang Sun-woo can survive until the top 16, he'll qualify for the second doping round. With that body of his, the chances of reaching the highest level of enhancement are enormous. His bones are already 10 times stronger than the average humans. If we layer additional doping on top, we may be looking at the birth of a record-breaking monster. The vice chief clicked his tongue, eyes narrowing. "Tusk, we'll need to keep him on our side. I don't like the thought of other VIPs stealing him away." Min Seok's lips curled into a small smirk. "That won't be an issue yet. The room Sun-woo chose, it's made up of the 5 fighters with the lowest viewership from the doping test, a group of nobodies. The audience has already written them off." The vice chief froze. Even he couldn't hide his surprise. He actually chose them. Cut back to Sun-woo's room. The old man was the first to break the silence. His tone was sharp, realistic. "It won't be easy to attract viewers. The audience flocks to fighters they believe can win. Among us, one of the only draws is her." He gestured to the only female fighter in the group, Amanda Grock, 23, her background capoeira and jiu-jitsu. Her body moved with liquid grace, flexible yet coiled with hidden power. Another is him, the old man continued, eyes shifting to the smallest man in the tournament, Kim Min-yu, 25, a boxer. His small frame made him look weak, but Sianwoo had already caught a glimpse of his speed. His movements were like flashes of lightning. And then there was the strangest one of all, Menon, 28, no style, no reputation, just chaos in human form. The old man exhaled, shoulders straightening. The guide has already started filming. If we don't draw attention from the VIPs, we won't earn a single bet. That means less money and less survival. To prove his point, the old man suddenly kicked into a handstand, balancing effortlessly on one palm. His acrobatics were sharp, calculated, almost theatrical. Sianwoo blinked in disbelief. That doesn't seem like it'll do the trick. But Amanda wasn't about to be overshadowed. She raised one arm, extended a single finger, and pierced it into the wall like a nail. With one movement, she hoisted her entire body upward, suspending herself as if gravity didn't exist. Sianwoo's jaw tight, lifting her body with just one finger without even momentum. That's insane. And as if on cue, Min-yu vanished. One moment, he was standing calmly. The next, he was a blur of speed, appearing right in front of Sianwoo's nose. The high schooler's breath caught. This guy, he's like a flash. And then Menon, in his own bizarre way, bounded forward, shoulder with a childlike grin. Gotcha, I'm the strongest, I'm the best. Sianwoo blinked twice. What the hell, this feels amazing but also incredibly stupid. The room fell into uneasy laughter until the monitor above roared to life. The 124-person tournament bracket is now complete. The fighters froze. The screen revealed matchups, lines connecting names like threads of fate. Sianwoo scanned the board, his eyes widening as they landed on his opponent. Red hair, X-shaped scar, a name dripping in blood. Kai. The scene shifted again, this time to the top of a skyscraper. The vice chief leaned forward, his voice low. Is this Kai really that great? Min Seok didn't hesitate. He hasn't suffered a single loss since his days as a Letway fighter. The vice chief frowned. Letway, isn't Muay Thai already one of the most brutal sports in the world with elbows, knees, everything allowed? Min Seok's eyes darkened. Letway goes even further, no gloves, headbutts allowed. A direct strike to the face with the forehead, one of the hardest bones in the human body, can shatter jaws, crack skulls, even kill. It's banned almost everywhere. But the truly terrifying part isn't that. In Letway, attacks to the back of the head and the spine are completely legal. Strikes that can paralyze, cripple, or outright kill. That's what Kai was raised on. He continued, his voice steady but grim. Even after his professional career, Kai didn't stop. He was scouted by an underground organization and his thirst for violence only grew. He sought out infamous street fighters across the world, beating them one by one. His combat experience is unmatched. The vice chief's lips thinned. And you're saying Sianwoo, the kid, can face someone like him? Min Seok's gaze flicked back to the tournament screen. That's the question, isn't it? Until now, Sianwoo has only fought debt collectors and street bruisers like Black Bear who never even trained properly. This time, he's stepping into the ring with a monster. Camera pans over the dimly lit capsule room, 5 pods lined up like futuristic coffins. Sianwoo slowly rose from his own, the air hissing around him. His body felt light, too light. How long have I been sleeping? No, it's not just sleep. This feeling, I've felt it before. Back when I woke up after fighting Black Bear, it's like I've got stronger. The old man leaned against the wall, arms folded, voice calm but heavy with experience. No need to be surprised. When muscles are pushed to their absolute limit and recover without permanent damage, they come back stronger. It's the body's natural way. You just never pushed yourself that far before. Sianwoo clenched his fist. Back then against Black Bear, I didn't even know how I was fighting, but I was already at the limit. The old man's eyes narrowed. Still, your recovery speed is unusually fast, almost unnatural, maybe some kind of recovery doping, but Sianwoo's mind was elsewhere. He turned serious. I've been wondering since yesterday, why'd you risk getting hurt just to help me? The room fell silent. The old man lowered his gaze. Because you remind me of my son. If I'd been a better father, he wouldn't have drowned in debt with loan sharks. I came here to pay that debt back. But when I saw you standing alone, it felt like I was looking at the boy I neglected. I just couldn't ignore it. Sianwoo's jaw tight. Then stop wasting your time. Survive and take care of your real son. If you die here, none of that matters. The words hit harder than a punch. The old man's eyes widened, stunned by the boy's bluntness. Sianwoo leaned closer, voice sharp. And if you dare try to help me again, I might just eat you alive. The old man blinked. What? Sianwoo scratched his head, embarrassed. No, that's not what I meant. Suddenly, a voice exploded from the corner. This is ridiculous. Menon stomped forward, flailing his arms dramatically. Why am I not in the main arena? Damn it, I'm the guy who can touch his elbow with his tongue. The old man sighed. I heard the matches with the most viewers happen in the main arena. The rest, just the doping round arenas. But if 4 out of 5 of us are heading into the main stage, that means our opponents are some of the most popular monsters. His expression hardened. And you call that a good thing? But Sianwoo's eyes lit up, sharp as a blade. It's perfect. A chance to grab all the VIP's attention at once. The old man stared at him like he'd gone insane. You're crazy. Menon suddenly appeared nose to nose with Sianwoo, his grin stretched unnaturally wide. The main arena isn't just about viewers. Sianwoo flinched. Menon's tone dropped to a whisper. That's where the 16 VVIPs appear. The real powers who run the world. The weight of those words froze the room. Sianwoo's heart thudded. Then the scout will be there too. The scene cut to a shadowy building hidden behind 3 sleek cars parked outside. Inside, the vice chief sat scowling. I thought we'd be meeting at the main arena. What is this filthy dump? Min Seok adjusted his glasses. The location of the fighting ward is known only to the organizers. They likely want its secrecy, but it seems someone else has joined Kang Sun-woo's channel besides us. The vice chief slammed the table. What? Who's snooping around on us? A calm feminine voice cut through the tension. Looks like there's some misunderstanding. She stepped forward, young, sharp-eyed, dressed in quiet elegance. Cha Seunjeon, 19. Youngest daughter of the Hasan group. I was only curious about this student, Kang Sun-woo. The vice chief's face twisted. It hasn't even been long since they kicked me out of Hasan, and now the rats crawl here too. Min Seok's lips twitched. Seems the young lady has taken quite an interest in the boss. Seunjeon tilted her head, almost amused. Young lady, I'm just an illegitimate daughter, don't give me fancy titles. The vice chief scoffed. Then crawl back to where you came from. Whatever you're plotting, it won't work here. But Seunjeon only smiled faintly, eyes glinting. Harsh, I gave up school to help my two brothers run the company. And thanks to them I stumbled into this little blood sport. Honestly, I should be grateful, it's far more interesting than boardrooms. The room fell into uneasy silence until the low hum of engines cut through. A Rolls-Royce pulled up outside, flanked by drones and white-masked doctors.